The spark. The Galactic Council chamber was a cathedral of light and glass, suspended in orbit over the ancient world of Xiran. Holographic banners of 100 civilizations shimmered in the air, but none bore the crude blue and green emblem of Earth. Humanity's flag was still too new, too young, to be given a position of prominence among the stars. Ambassador Kira Holt stood at her assigned podium, 3 tiers lower than the elders of the council. She kept her face still, though her stomach burned. The vote was already decided. She could feel it. The Xyrati speaker's voice, translated into her ear, rang with practiced patience. For the safety of all, we recommend the cessation of Project Mass 14. Humanity's acceleration in destructive technologies is troubling. Mass 14, the orbital magnetic acceleration superstructure. A railgun so vast its twin rails were measured in kilometers, mounted in synchronous orbit above Mars. It was the culmination of 30 years of desperate innovation, designed to defend human colonies after a series of border raids. But to the Council, it was a weapon of planetary annihilation. Kira spoke calmly. With respect, Speaker, the colonies of Tessis and Eridani 5 were attacked by pirates armed with military-grade gravelance cannons, technology far beyond human capacity. No one has offered an investigation, let alone protection. Mass 14 is not a threat to peace. It is our insurance against extinction. The chamber rippled with low, telepathic murmurs. The Valari delegation's facete eyes glinted disapprovingly. The towering Yevret counselor folded his arms, his voice a rumble. And who supplied these pirates? Baseless accusations from a fledgling race are unbecoming of a council member. Kira wanted to scream. Everyone knew at least one major power had armed the raiders to send Earth a warning. Stay weak. The vote was taken in seconds. By overwhelming majority, the council decreed that Mass 14 must be dismantled within 30 solar days. Failure to comply would result in collective enforcement measures. 2 weeks later, in the Mars Orbital Command Ring, Captain Elias Ward leaned over the command console, watching the railgun's capacitor banks swell with energy. The engineering deck thrummed with a deep, resonant vibration. Crew in gray exosuits moved between stations, checking field stability, cooling systems, and targeting arrays. Massive superconducting coils lined the launch corridor, glowing faintly under the load. Status? Ward asked. Capacitors at 98%, replied Lieutenant Amani, her voice steady but her eyes betraying excitement. Projectile locked. Targeting asteroid DX993. 200 million kilometers. Ward's jaw tightened. Confirms safety protocols. This is a calibration test. Nothing more. Everyone knew that wasn't the full truth. The UNSC High Command had debated for days, dismantle Mass 14 and comply with the Council's demand, or fire it once, in full view of every listening post in the sector, and show the galaxy what humanity could do. The final order had come in a short, encrypted burst from Earth. Proceed with demonstration. Ward remembered the footage of Tess's station after the pirate raid. Families huddled in burning corridors, their comms screaming for help that never came. He remembered the Council's silence. The gun chamber was a cathedral of steel, stretching into darkness. The projectile, 3 meters of depleted tungsten, sat cradled in the launch rails. It gleamed under the maintenance lights, inert, harmless, for now. Capacitors at full, Imani called. Field integrity stable. Ward gave the order. Fire. The railguns spoke, not with a roar, but with a soundless shudder that rattled bones and warped the air. Magnetic fields surged down the rails, hurling the tungsten slug into the void at a significant fraction of light speed. For 3 seconds, there was nothing but the hum of cooling systems. Then the sensors flared with data. DX993 ceased to exist. One instant an asteroid, the next a cloud of plasma and debris expanding at lethal velocity. The energy release was measured in dozens of Tsar bombers. The flash could be seen from Mars with the naked eye. Ward exhaled slowly. Around him, the crew stared at their displays in stunned silence. This wasn't just a weapon, it was a message. In the far reaches of the spiral arm, listening posts recorded the event. Within minutes, Encrypted reports flooded the networks of every major power. Fleet admirals whispered to ministers to rulers. Analysts ran projections. If a single shot could do that to a rock, what would it do to a city, a moon, a homeworld? On Zyron, the council chamber froze mid-session as the data came in. None of the elders spoke. The shot heard across the stars. The light from the asteroid's destruction reached Earth's deep space telescopes 8 minutes after the Mass 14 fired. To the astronomers in the Mount Kepler array, it was like watching a tiny sun bloom and fade in the blackness. To the crew on Mars orbit, it was confirmation. It worked. Captain Elias Ward stood at the observation deck, eyes fixed on the readouts scrolling across the holo-display. Impact energy calculations kept climbing before stabilizing at a figure so vast it made him shiver. Lieutenant Amani's voice was barely above a whisper. That's enough force to vaporize half a continent. Ward didn't respond. He knew it was more than that. At relativistic speeds, even a projectile the size of a fist could crack a planet's crust. Mass 14 could launch something hundreds of times bigger. Within hours, the shot was no longer a human secret. At the Valari Prime listening hub, sensors dedicated to monitoring council space lit up with alerts. Technician Rel, a jellyfish-like alien suspended in nutrient fluid, pulsed frantically to his supervisor. Energy release recorded in Sol sector. Source, artificial. Magnitude, extreme. In the cold void between stars, the Cherik Dominion's picket fleet received the signal too. The commander, a scaled veteran named Thrukin, watched the replay in silent awe. He had fought in orbital sieges before, but nothing had ever removed an object from existence so cleanly. The first wave of communications was predictable. From the Yevrek Empire, explain the purpose of this detonation or face sanctions. From Avaran Concord, cease all further testing immediately. From the Zyrati Council Chair, Mass 14 is in violation of Council safety codes. Deactivate it at once. But as the hours passed, something strange happened. The channels that usually buzzed with condemnation and threats began to fall silent. No follow-up messages. No calls for joint action. Just nothing. Ward noticed it first in the reports from UNSC intelligence. All major alien news feeds have stopped covering the event, Commander Takeda told him over the secure link. Not downplaying it, just dropping it entirely. That doesn't sound like them, Ward said. Last month, the Valari sent 34 broadcasts calling us reckless primates because one of our freighters drifted too close to their borders. Takeda nodded grimly. Exactly. This is different. They're not ignoring us. They're avoiding the topic altogether. On Earth, Ambassador Kira Holt was pulled from a midnight briefing to meet with an emergency session of the United Nations Security Council. A dozen faces flickered in the secure holo call. The situation is unprecedented, said Secretary General Monroe. We've seen the initial outrage, but now, complete communications blackout. No threats, no trade freezes. Even the fleets patrolling near Alpha Centauri have quietly withdrawn. Kira frowned. Which means they are either planning something in secret, she hesitated, or they are afraid. The room went quiet. Meanwhile, in the shadowed corridors of alien power, the fear was real. The Valari Military Council reviewed the Mass 14 data in closed session. One general, his crystalline form refracting the chamber lights, spoke first. At 0.1 C, a projectile of this mass is capable of planetary sterilization without warning. Our fleets cannot intercept it once fired. A Cherik intelligence officer confirmed grimly. It bypasses shields. There is no defense. An unspoken memory passed through the Council, a half-forgotten war from eons ago, when another species had achieved stellar reach kinetic strikes. That war had ended in the annihilation of 3 homeworlds before the aggressor was destroyed. Since then, the technology had been a galactic taboo, outlawed not by law, but by fate. And now, humanity had it. Back aboard Mars orbit, Ward stared at the stars beyond the viewport. He knew the silence wasn't peace. It was calculation. Every alien admiral, every planetary governor was now asking the same question. If the humans can destroy a world from the other side of the solar system, what happens if we push them? His comm pinged with a priority message from Earth. High Command's words were brief, but they carried the weight of history. The galaxy has heard us. Maintain readiness. No further tests until ordered. Ward closed the channel. The crew went about their duties quietly, but the unspoken truth hung in the air. Mass 14 had not just fired a shot into an asteroid. It had fired a shot into the heart of galactic politics. Somewhere out there, fleets were changing course. Some toward Earth, some away. And beyond them all, in the deep and patient dark, the silence stretched on. The weight of silence. 3 days after the test shot, the silence had become impossible to ignore. It wasn't just that alien news feeds had stopped covering the Mass 14 event. It was that they had stopped covering anything involving humanity. No debates in the Council. No editorials from the Valari accusing humans of technological immaturity. No border disputes with the Yevrek making the headlines. It was as though Earth had been quietly erased from galactic conversation. Ambassador Kira Holt had been trying to break through the wall for 72 straight hours. Every diplomatic channel she opened ended the same way, politely routed to a junior aide who promised to relay the message, and then never called back. On the 4th day, she finally got something different. A coded burst transmission arrived at the embassy, its encryption pattern alien but familiar enough for human systems to decode. She read it once, then twice, her pulse quickening. It was from Selen Va, a mid-ranking diplomat of the Varen Concord. They had met years ago during a trade conference, and while Selen had never been openly sympathetic, Kira had always sensed a cautious respect. Her message was simple: we need to talk. Not through official channels. They met in the dim cargo bay of an unmanned supply shuttle drifting beyond Earth's orbit. Kira arrived alone, as instructed, and found Selen waiting, her translucent skin shimmering faintly in the low light. Selen wasted no time with pleasantries. Do you know what you have built? Kira kept her voice calm. A railgun. A defensive platform. No, Selen said sharply. You have built the thing that ended the Ortiz War. You have built what the ancients swore would never be built again. Kira frowned. You mean relativistic kinetic weapons? Selen nodded. In your tongue, planet killers. At the velocities you achieved, there is no defense. Shields cannot stop it. Interceptors cannot catch it. If your Mass 14 were to fire on a world from the edge of its system, that world would be gone before anyone knew they were under attack. Kira felt the weight of the words settle on her. That's why they are silent, she murmured. It's not shame. It's faith. Selen leaned closer. Not fear alone. Calculation. In every major archive, there is a record of civilizations who reached this threshold. None survived long. Either their enemies destroyed them before they could use it, or they used it first, and the galaxy united to wipe them out. Kira's mouth went dry. You're telling me they might attack us preemptively? Oh, Selen said, they may do nothing at all, so long as they believe you will never fire at a living world. But the moment they suspect otherwise. She trailed off, her eyes dark. You have 30, maybe 40, years before someone makes the decision. That night, Kira briefed the UN Security Council in a closed session. The air in the secure chamber was heavy. Every word weighed before it was spoken. So we either dismantle Mass 14, one delegate said, or we hide it. No, Kira corrected. Selen's warning was clear. If they think we're dismantling it, some will see that as their only chance to strike. The gun is as much a deterrent as it is a weapon. But keeping it visible paints a target on us, another countered. Secretary General Monroe's voice cut through the argument. What you're all missing is this: visibility is our protection. The galaxy will tolerate a threat they understand, but they will not tolerate an unknown. If they can see it, track it, measure it, they can believe they are safe so long as we do not pull the trigger. The room fell silent. On Mars' orbit, Captain Ward received the new orders personally. Mass 14 would remain operational, its existence openly acknowledged. Maintenance schedules would be leaked, intentionally, so that alien reconnaissance could confirm the weapon wasn't being secretly replicated across human space. Ward understood what that meant. Every alien power would keep their eyes on him and his crew, day and night. The wrong movement, the wrong calibration test, could start a war. 2 weeks later, the first alien warship appeared just outside the Sol system's exclusion zone. It did not approach, did not hail. It simply sat there, sensors locked on Mass 14. By the end of the month, there were 4 of them, watching, waiting. Ward would pass them sometimes on the long-range scans, silent shadows against the stars. And each time, he felt the same uneasy truth settle deeper into his bones. The galaxy wasn't silent because it had accepted humanity. It was silent because it was holding its breath. The new balance. The alien ships have been there for 6 months now, stationary sentinels lingering just beyond Sol's exclusion zone. Captain Elias Ward had grown used to their presence, though never comfortable with it. They were always watching, always silent. Sometimes, one would slip away, replaced within days by another from a different species. The galaxy's most powerful fleets were rotating shifts, all for one purpose: to make sure humanity's finger never drifted too close to Mass 14's trigger. Ward had lived with the tension so long he almost didn't notice when it broke. The orders came in through a triple encrypted burst from Earth. The words were precise, clinical, yet their meaning was seismic. Authorization: Mass 14 demonstration shot. Target: uninhabited moon. Kepler 174f system. Invite all powers to observe. Ward stated the text, then read it again. They were doing this publicly. No secrecy, no pretense. Within hours, invitations went out over Galactic comms. They were not requests. They were announcements. Humanity would conduct a controlled demonstration of Mass 14's full capabilities. The entire galaxy was welcome to send observation vessels. The council chambers on Xiron erupted in chaos. Some argued it was a threat disguised as diplomacy. Others said it was the first honest move humanity had made. But the result was the same. Fleets moved. Observation ships from over 30 civilizations plotted courses toward the Kepler system. Ward and his crew arrived 2 weeks before the demonstration. Kepler 174f's third moon was a barren ball of rock and ice, slightly smaller than Mars, its surface cratered and gray. No atmosphere, no life. Perfect. The day of the shot, the void beyond the moon was crowded with alien craft. Some kept their distance, hiding behind sensor cloaks. Others floated brazenly close, their scanning arrays pointed directly at Mass 14's firing rails. Ward stood on the bridge, the calm center of a storm. The crew's voices were hushed, as if the observers could hear them. Projectile ready, Imani reported. 200 metric tons of tungsten alloy, shaped for minimal atmospheric drag. We'll be hitting at 0.12 C. Ward nodded. All stations, mark this for the record. We are firing at an uninhabited body in full compliance with interstellar law. He let the statement hang in the air, knowing alien recorders were catching every word. Initiate charge. The capacitors filled, magnetic field spiked, and the 2-kilometer rails lit like a blade of white fire. Ward's hands rested behind his back, his expression calm, but his chest felt tight. Fire, he ordered. The slug vanished down the barrel faster than the eye could follow. 20 seconds later, the moon bloomed into light. The impact shockwave tore through its crust, splitting the surface open like a rotten fruit. Fountains of rock and molten metal sprayed into space, silhouetted against the dying glare. By the time the light faded, the moon was gone, reduced to an expanding halo of debris. For a long moment, there was no sound but the steady ping of cooling systems. Then the comms began to crackle. From the Valari delegation, test confirmed. Data recorded. From the Yevrek, acknowledged. From the Varen, message received. No threats, no accusations, just simple, clipped confirmations, each one more unnerving than the last. Back on Earth, the footage was broadcast without embellishment. Every citizen could see what the galaxy had seen, a single shot erasing a moon from existence. The message was unspoken but unmistakable. Humanity could reach across the stars and strike with finality. Ambassador Kira Holt stood before the United Nations Security Council 2 days later. "We have demonstrated capability without provocation," she said. "And we have done so in front of every major power. That transparency is our shield. They will respect the deterrent, so long as they believe we will never misuse it." Monroe nodded. "Then that is the line we walk. No first strikes. No planetary targets. But if we are attacked," her voice hardened, "the retaliation will be decisive." Ward returned Mass 14 to Mars orbit. It floated there in the black like a silent god, its twin rails dark and cold, but its presence undeniable. The alien watchers did not leave, but they stopped rotating as often. Some even opened limited comms, asking about trade and mutual defense pacts. The galaxy had not embraced humanity. It had simply made space for them, space carved out by the shadow of a weapon no one dared test. Ward looked out at the curve of Mars below and the distant shimmer of alien ships. He knew this was not the end of the story. Weapons bought time, not peace. But for now, the galaxy had fallen silent again, and that silence belonged to humanity.